Hey everyone, welcome to Caveman to Cozyman, Tangerine Piggy's Vintage Story Tutorial Let's Play. This is episode 2, and we are off into the Clay Age, ready to start exploring the world. Come along on this adventure with me. The dawn of day 4, took a little damage fighting off that wolf, got our farm started. See, we're feeling a little hungry, but we also got some turnips and a couple of pieces of grain. So I'm gonna, oh, and apparently monsters are still out and about. The Bowtorns, these monsters, if you get too close, they'll attack you, but they'll run away from you. So one of the things you can do if they're far away, you want to approach them zigging and zagging, and then that way there's a greater chance to miss. And when you get in to attack them, you want to be going in and out, because if you stay too close, they'll attack you as well. They mostly drop these early game arrows that I don't find super useful, but that could also be because on the servers I've been playing on, I've been playing as classes where ranged damage is greatly reduced. So, as you can see, our pit kiln has finished firing. So we're gonna grab our cooking pot, our bowl, our other cooking utensils, and our storage vessel. The storage vessel is going to be neat because it holds more than the reed chest that we've currently got in our base, and then also it keeps things fresh longer. So we'll take a look at the spoilage rate in a second, and we'll talk a little bit about cellars. Right now, because our base is basically a hole that we dug into the side of a wall here, when we look at our chest, we've got a spoil rate of 73%. I'm going to make a couple of hay bales to serve as the door, just because they'll break quicker than dirt and we won't have to watch you dig that every time. And so now that we're in a sealed underground room with dirt or stone walls, we can look and you can see the food perish rate has decreased on that crate. I can dig a little ledge back in here for our storage vessel. You can see the storage vessel is even more efficient than the reed chest at storing food. So we're going to move our food over to here. Or at least we would be if we weren't about to immediately cook it all up. So the first recipe we're going to do is we're going to do just a simple porridge. So to do that, you need sort of 2 of the same type of thing. So 2 types of grain in the first slot in the same number gets you porridge. So you can see this is going to get us a porridge. We can add vegetables to the other slots or fruits to the other slots, and that'll get us porridge with mashed turnip, and that'll get us a meal that has 1 serving of a meal that has both vegetable and grain in it. We could also do that and get 2 servings of turnip stew, but unfortunately you can't use grains in turnip stew, so that's not going to be a recipe. So our most filling meal we can make right now is actually going to be 1 serving of this mashed turnip. And since you can see we're getting rather hungry rather quickly, getting that going is going to be good for us. Grab a couple pieces of peat. My rule of thumb is usually 1 more piece of peat than, or 1 less piece of peat than the number of meals you're going to cook. So like you can usually cook a 6 serving thing with 5 pieces of peat. The initial getting the fireplace hot enough to cook your food is what uses up most of the first brick of peat. So when you're cooking more meals, peat becomes more efficient. But when you're cooking a small number of meals, you still need more peat than the number of servings that you're getting out. And same with logs. One of the things to note is that there's a cooking temperature, and so you noticed at around just over 100 C that this cooking progress started filling in. And so that means that we have the time, like even if our fire burns out, we have the time that it takes for the fireplace to get down below that temperature where it'll still be cooking. And so sometimes you can get away with having your fire go out and leaving your food to cook. So that bought us about half of our food bar filled. And one of the things that it also bought us is a little reprieve. We get a little bit of break in our timer for our hunger rate, our hunger to start draining again. So for every, if you hold down Alt, you can free your mouse. So for every 100 bits of a meal that you eat, you get a little reprieve on your timer. So we ate about 700 saturation points in that meal, and so we're going to get a decent timer where you'll notice that the hunger rate isn't going down. And that can be really beneficial. And it looks like we already caught a deer. And you'll notice that that deer is a decent weight. The weights for animals go good, decent, and then low. And so the higher the weight of the animal, the more loot you get out of it. So the more meat or the more fat. Usually you don't get extra hides, but one of the things you can do to our animals here, and a lot of the animal husbandry, this is sort of a little trick or life hack. A lot of the animal husbandry assumes that you've got copper and you've got a trough and you can toss it down, but deer will eat grass, so will goats and sheep. Pigs don't eat grass, but they eat vegetables and berries and flaxseed. So you can collect grass and things and you can throw it loose on the ground. And while you're nearby, this deer is going to stay freaked out and it won't eat. But if you wander far enough away that it mellows out, it'll eat from the grass that you threw on the ground and it'll fatten up. So if we come back later, that deer is going to provide us more meat than if we were to murder it right now. So one of the things we're sort of looking for now is we've got a couple of paths forward that we're thinking about. One is possibly finding a forever home. One of the things that I want to find for a forever home in this game or in this playthrough that we're looking for is rapids. I haven't gotten to play with the water wheels, so ultimately I'd like to play with the water wheels. So one of the things we're going to be looking for as we wander around are rapids. One of the other things we're going to look for are ruins. Ruins sometimes have storage vessels or cracked vessels in them that have historical artifacts of the past, like tools and grains and things like that can be really useful. Looking at the map here, if we zoom in, this sort of looks like a ruined structure. So we're going to wander up there first. And the other thing we're going to be looking for as we do our wander is surface copper. If we can find enough surface copper, we'll be able to bypass, like we did over here, we'll be able to bypass having to do a lot of panning to get our first copper tools. And that will be more entertaining. If we do end up needing to do a lot of panning, I'll show you how it goes once or twice, and then we'll speed through so you don't have to sit and watch me pan for the amount of time that it takes. It's a cool tool and it's a cool feature, but it can take a really long time. One of the other things you can find in ruins that's neat is you can find, in the ruins, you can find bony soil. And bony soil, when you pan it, can sometimes drop arrowheads, metal tools, gears, flax fiber, a lot of stuff that can be really useful. So I try and reserve my panning for bony soil. But when you're first starting out, if you're trying to rush the copper age or get going, panning can be a really good tool for getting that first amount of copper. And although you only need 20 copper for your first pick, anything you dig up with your pickaxe is going to need the hammer to break into the nuggets, so you're going to want to make sure you've got 40 copper before you get going. And it looks like I was right. So this is a ruin. We'll build a shovel and we'll get to digging. Not all ruins have loot. Not all buildings have cellars. It's sort of a random gamble, so we're gonna do some digging and find out how lucky we're feeling today. When you're napping, if you hold down the Alt key like we were talking about earlier, you can free your mouse from you looking around, and you can make it easier to find and click what you need to click. Took me a while to figure that out, and a new player reached out and was like, oh, you didn't tell us about that. And so I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that in this playthrough. You can see as we dig down, we're still seeing the stone. When you run out, like here where we've gone from cobblestone back down to dirt, that's as far as this ruin's going to go, so you don't need to keep digging down after that. We're going to hop down this hole, do a little digging around, see if we get lucky. This can also be an early game source of cobblestone and things like that. Unlike trees, if you punch cobblestone long enough, it breaks. So, and so it looks like this particular little ruin was, we struck out, so we'll hop up. And you can jump and place dirt beneath you. I'm not really great at it. I've played with some players who are really amazing at it, and they'll, you know, when a bear is coming or a wolf, they'll just all of a sudden be 4 up on a thing with their bow out, shooting it with arrows, and I am envious because I just have to run and usually die early game. That's that one kind of dug out. We'll pop over here, dig this one out. You know, we're keeping an eye on our food bar because we didn't bring any food with us. Ooh, bony soil. So that's what the bony soil looks like. Sorry, I'll place it back down. I got excited. So that's what the bony soil looks like. So many bones. It's useful for panning. So later we'll pan it up. Oh, a lot of bony soil. And this is one of those storage vessels that I was talking about, a cracked storage vessel here. So you can see this one's forage. So it's probably going to have seeds, possibly some bean aids. Yeah, so we've got some bean aids. We've got a lot of bean aids. I don't find the bean aids that useful, in all honesty. They're meant to do, I guess, damage / injury to creatures like bears and things like that and distract them from chasing you. I've never found it to be totally useful. Sometimes in the forage, instead of bean aids, you'll get things like honey or seeds that you can plant. So it's all random number generation, all luck of the draw. So like in this farming one, we've gotten mostly, looks like reeds. So, you know, not every time you gamble is it necessarily a winner. I ran away from the house with stuff in my pockets that I probably shouldn't have, so at some point I'm probably going to throw that gate and this waddle out. So that's that one. We're getting a little low on food, so I might come back to this project after we hunt down some edibles. Go back to walking. Oh yeah, I ran off with my Crocs. I was bad life choice, bad planning on my behalf, so we might circle back around home. Empty out our pockets. Go back out again. I'm going to mark those ruins on the map because I didn't finish digging through them. And we found a new type of stone, and so one of the things that's important to note about the flint is you can see it has the native stone type. So this is just granite stones, and then this is flint with granite stones. And so you'll always have the little gray sparkle rock and then a native rock of the other type. So as you move from one biome of rock to another, your flint will look different. So it's important to keep your eye out for it in all of its differences. Like, yeah, loose flint, normal. There's just a slight difference in the model. Not a lot of berries or wild crops over here. Oh, that rock up there, that's quartz. We won't be able to harvest that until we get into the Bronze Age. Quartz is also the only place you'll find silver or gold when you're digging and mining. So anytime you see quartz, there's a chance that there's going to be a gold or a silver vein inside the quartz. So it's worth coming back to. And if you're planning on doing things like having a big build or anything like that, the quartz can be very useful. I'm going to ditch this fence. We can make that again real easily. I'm going to pick up some quartz bits now, primarily with the hope, since they were on the ground, of getting a clear quartz bit. Because if you can get a couple clear quartz bits, it makes the charcoal bit more foolproof, because you can make a window in it. So that's not a clear quartz chunk, so that's not going to do us any good. I'm going to leave it there. Eventually we'll have so much of that, it won't matter. So we've got some more red clay to mark. You know, we probably have enough red clay to last us a really long time where we are. The thing about the red clay is that it will... This is going to be annoying to jump around. The thing about the red clay is that if we decide to have a big project, we'll run out of it. But if we're just doing building with other things that don't involve a lot of clay shingles or things like that, we won't burn through clay that fast. Get my map. I think if we go south, we can cut through those woods and there might be some veggies in there. Hopefully we won't starve to death while we're doing that. Yeah. And all the while, we're just keeping our eyes open for surface copper, or even like copper in the sides of these mountains. Sometimes if you're really lucky, you'll find an exposed ore vein sticking out, especially when you've got like the mountains that are just jutting up, the cliff faces. When we're walking through the forest, we want to be keeping our ears open for bears and wolves, but we also want to keep our ears open for bees. If you find wild beehives, you can break them for honey, but you can also make your own artificial beehive and convince the bees that they should move in. So if we hear the soft buzzing of bees or we see them fluttering around, we want to mark it on our map and come back, and we can go through the process of starting our own apiary. Just kind of fun to feel like a little medieval beekeeper. The bees don't come out when it's raining, so as we can hear, the rain just kicked in, and so that's gonna put a damper on our success in beehive hunting. Hoping we find some mushrooms, because as you can hear, my little dude is grumpy about life. Flint. Okay, mushrooms. Lobster mushrooms are safe to eat, so we're in luck. Gonna eat a couple mushrooms. Stop taking damage. And then we picked up those reeds from that chest, and we're gonna be able to use those along with these horsetails, make us some more healing poultices. Then we can get our life back up. Be benefit for us. Like we're gonna need 2 more. So if you don't need to look around, with your crafting window open, you can pick up more stuff. It also allows you when you've got a lot of storage vessels, you can open multiple storage vessels at once and then use the Alt key to sort of craft from storage into your crafting grid. Okay, so that'll get us almost fully healed there. Gonna eat this other mushroom. We don't really need these birch seeds, so I'm just gonna plant them. In fact, we do need these mushrooms. There's a boar down there. Did you hear that little high-pitched squeak? That's the sound of a baby. The boars are aggressive when they have babies around. So we're gonna give that one a pretty wide berth. Breadth, whatever the correct terminology is there. More edible mushrooms. I'm gonna mark this area on my map because these mushrooms will grow back. One of the things I was worried about when I was playing Vintage Story at first is that, like, if I over harvested all the mushrooms or food in an area, would it cause all the animals to disappear? I also was worried about, like, over hunting, things like that. Animals will continuously spawn. During the winter, though, nothing spawns, really. So during the winter, you can definitely overhunt an area to the point where you're just sad walking around it, looking for food. So in the winter, if your idea was to rely on hunting for food, you're going to have to travel farther and farther from home, which means hopefully you've got warm winter clothing by then. If I can, I like to have enough food stashed away for the winter that I can spend my winter crafting and building things and having fun that way instead of exploring, because it can be annoying to explore in the winter because you'll start to take frost damage, and when you die, it's not as fun, or it's not as fun for me. It's harder. So if harder things are fun for you, then you are set. And I don't think there's like a greater odds of surface copper in the gravelly areas or other areas, but I do feel like it's easier to see. And so oftentimes I'll discover a surface copper over in those areas versus when I'm walking around the hilly areas. So it's not necessarily a sign there. Granite stones, loose flint. Either of those are loose flint. I like the way the audio modulates when you get underwater. Looks like there was a fish over there. You used to be able to spearfish fish. I think they said you can't do that anymore. Guess we'll try and find out, because we can sort of guide this fish that we're following here from afar into a corner and see if we can't spearfish it. They won't be able to swim away from the shore. Nope, it booped away. Yep, there it went. There's its little fast travel trail. So we can't spearfish, or at least not melee spearfish. I guess I could have tried throwing it. They're fine. I think we might murder that deer that's in the pit there. Stock up on some food and then head back out. It's already kinda late in the day, and we got medium danger coming, so we also might do some prep work around the base to prepare for when we found some of the other things. You don't need have all of this on us. Our bean aids are going away. Second pot. Yeah, I guess we're just gonna go soup. So if we take vegetables and we fill 3 slots, then we take our bowl. This is something that you can do early game if you just need to stretch your food a little bit. It doesn't do a lot for you, but it'll do a little. Is you can do 1 liter of water plus 1 vegetable plus some other ingredients. So in this case, we're gonna have the turnip and lobster mushroom stew. So we've got that going there. Gotta grab some peat for it. Got cooking. And go see how our dear friend is doing once that's done. I like to think when I use the healing poultices while I'm starving to death, that instead of putting them on a wound, I'm eating them. And it's not necessarily delicious, but it is keeping me from starving to death. So, go for it. Soup is almost done. And you can scoop your soup right out of the bowl. You can also scoop food with the bowl. You can scoop it right out of the fireplace. You can also take it if you have a full pot in your inventory. You can take food out of it by clicking your bowl on it. So like picking up your bowl and clicking on this thing. That's important because it'll help. Later on, there's a place where you're not allowed to put stuff down, and you will be there long enough that you'll probably need a snack. If you look, our weight is good now, so that's as good as that's going to get. And that deer will get grumpy as soon as we attack it, so we're probably going to hit it and then run up our ladder over here and let it come for us. Be a little annoying to... Yeah, see, that did half my life's worth of damage, so... You gotta be careful tangling with deer. A lot of the animals here are passive until you attack them, or they are not passive at all. So, almost all the animals, even the roosters, will fight back and cause damage to you, so... It's important to keep in mind that there isn't really a truly passive creature in the game that is always safe to just attack with impunity. You can see just how many times hitting this deer with a spear is necessary, so it's important to keep that in mind if you're actually trying to hunt. Okay, so we've killed our deer. Got 11 meat, so that'll last us a while. We've got some rawhide. We've got a lump of fat. And the lump of fat it'll go bad. So one of the things we need to do with our lump of fat is we need to render it. So we'll do that. And then there's some options that we can do. Right now, we aren't in a place to make leather, but that's not the only way to process hides. So if we were close to a place where we'd be able to make leather, I might say like, we can store the hides for a while and they won't rot, but eventually they'll rot. Meat's gonna go bad pretty quick. We're gonna make some very meaty meat stew to survive. Since we don't have any vegetables, we won't be able to make vegetable soup. But the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna process our lump of fat. So I'm gonna grab the last of our harvested peat, because we're going to be using it all to cook our stew and our fat. The fat, we can put it just like this. We can also put it like that. That'll cook slightly faster. So this is the way, if you only have 4 lumps of fat or less, this is the way I like to spread it out while I'm cooking with it or rendering it. And we're going to grab our meat to have that on hand, and we'll get going on this. Meat you can use when you're making a meat stew. You can use berries or fruit. We're going to not be making a meat stew, so we're going to be making it just an all meat stew. You might need to get some more burnable materials, but these will finish rendering. You can also eat the rendered fat. The thing we're going to do with the rendered fat is we're going to oil our hides, and that'll allow us to turn them into pelts. So before we lose too much heat here, I'm going to get 2 servings of super meaty stew going. It's like your uncle's chili. Large hides like this, you need 1 fat per hide to make an oiled hide. So The oiled hides, right, if we hit H, we're going to pull it up. It'll tell us in 2 days it's going to turn into a pelt. So now we could go and we could go back and search for pelt, but we could also click on pelt and it'll link us through to the things we can make with pelt. The things that we can make with pelt that sort of are the things that I'm thinking about right now. There's a lot of cool stuff we can make. But the thing that I'm primarily thinking of is this hunter backpack, possibly. It gets us slightly bigger pockets. Usually I end up skipping the hunter's backpack, but the thing that's going to be important for winter is the fur coat, the fur boots, and the fur gloves. So if we look at the recipes for that, it takes a fair number of hides to execute. So got some medium hides, some large hides. So we can start getting ready for the winter by stockpiling our oil, by oiling our hides and then setting them in storage to cure. Funny thing about the way the game mechanics work is the fastest place to cure hides and everything else is actually in your pockets, and the slowest place is in anything that isn't your pockets. It's just, I'm not sure what game mechanic is behind that, but there's a game mechanic behind that. So right now it's medium out, so there's probably more monsters about tonight than there have been in the previous nights. I definitely don't want to mess with it too much. So our fire just went out, and we can look at how close we are to done, and we can try and decide whether or not we judge. I'm gonna toss in some sticks and some grass to keep the heat up long enough that our food ends up fully cooked. So I'm just trying to keep it above 200 because 200 is the cooking temp. It looks like we're gonna make that without a problem after that one stick. So just to show you what it's like to get it if it's in your pockets, you just take your bowl, click on it. Now you can see my bowl has a serving of food in it. And you can see just how filling that meaty stew is. So I didn't even eat the full thing. There's still 2 servings left, so there's still 400 saturation left in it. The other thing that did is it gave us a huge protein bump for our protein, which has made our maximum health points go up now. So we've got a slightly better balanced diet. You can still see we're lacking a little on grains, and dairy is completely non-existent. That's because we haven't met an animal we can milk yet. You have to get animals to the A generation before you can milk them. Ultimately, you really need to get them to like Gen 3 or better. You can, if you're patient enough, milk a Gen 2 sheep or goat, but patient enough is the key word there. Some might call it masochistic enough, but you can do that. So we'll sleep through the night here. You can see just how much saturation I lost in food going down there. Last night I moved the soup from the cooking pot into one of these crocks, and the food will last for longer in a crock. So if you can get your cooked food stored in a crock, even if it's just one meal, it'll last you longer. Of course, the way we're burning food, that's not gonna last long enough for us to worry about it going bad. That one serving of stew is not gonna make it 4 days. I've got these turnip seeds. I want to check to see if we've got room in our farm. I'm going to get them in the ground because they'll grow the fastest, and it would be a good thing for us to make sure we had lots of little deer around this farm. There've been a lot of deer running around the edge of this farm here. That one's just stuck. We'll see if we can... Snack! I think I'm going to dig a pit along the edge of this farm here because there seems to be animals gathering up, try and eat it. Oh yeah, we definitely got room. We'll till some soil and get these seeds that are in our pocket in the ground. So there's a couple things that we can prep other than our farm for the coming age, and that's going to be some molds that we're going to need once we've got copper. That'll take a little while to fire, and then also some high fertility soil, and also, why am I spacing out? I apologize. So we can prep some molds, but then also some charcoal, because we're going to need charcoal when the time comes to melt the metal. So we can get that going. Get that prep today. We'll do a charcoal pit. We'll wander off into the woods looking for other things, but we'll also chop down some trees while we're there. Our turnips in the ground. Rye seeds down. I haven't been paying too much attention to the weather, but the times to check the weather are at 4 o'clock in the morning and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So we got our axe. Gonna lean this up against this tree. We'll be back. Do some chopping down of stuff. So the bare minimum amount of wood that we need for doing a charcoal firing is going to be 36 firewood. You need 32 to make the stack of wood that you're going to turn into a fire, and then you need 4 to make a fire pit on top of it. And we'll look at the construction of that in a second here once we've chopped down some trees. So this is a really massive maple tree. So the odds are we're going to get all the logs we need from it if we manage to chop it down with our stone axe before our stone axe breaks. And we can always make another stone axe. Again, I'm breaking the leaves for the sticks, because one of the things I can never have enough of in this game is sticks. I don't know why, maybe it's just my playstyle, but I'm always needing more sticks. I think we didn't break apart that deer's bones, so we're going to swing back by and do that, because that was an oversight. I was starving to death, so, you know, we got a good number of sticks off of it, because we need the sticks for our firings in the charcoal kiln, so it's a good idea to grab them. You can see I left a lot of branches and leaves on it, and it's a lot of logs, so you can see just how much longer it's taking to cut down than the trees we cut down earlier. Also takes more damage to the tool. But you can see we got more than enough lumber out of it to meet our needs for a charcoal pit. That up there. Now we'll just do some more exploring for forage and whatnot in this forest here, and sticks. Like, here's a situation where you could try and start a fight with that boar. I don't feel confident about it, so I'm going to leave it be. Flint. That over here. There's a couple new flowers, which I haven't seen before, like ghost pipe. Cannot be transplanted. That's cool. Parasitic tree roots. Oh, that's fun. That's too bad it can't be transplanted. Fun to have a little... Oops, surface copper. So I'm going to dig a hole down here. I like to always dig one hole down. When I come back, I know where I got to dig down, and then I pop into that hole, and I mark this on the map. So we'll grab the copper off the surface right now, but then also nearby underneath, not too far down, is going to be copper ore. So there's always little pockets of copper ore under the surface copper. See if there's any other surface copper around here. So that got us 6 nuggets, and again, remember we're looking for having a total of 40 nuggets to propel us into the Copper Age. Down here. So this is forest floor again, so we want to keep our ears open for strawberries. We want to keep our ears open for wolves. Also, it's not raining, so we want to keep our ears open for bees as well. Quartz, I'm still doing the... Speaking of wolves. Oh, there's another one over there. So again, if you run up the diagonals or the corners, it's the easiest way to get away from wolves. And then if you can, get in a lake. They move slightly slower in the lake and your knockback works better. So we managed to successfully run away from that wolf. See, the animals can outswim us, so they will catch up, but it just is a little easier. I'm gonna try throwing my spear this time, see if that works on this fish. Going spear fishing for realsies. I'm gonna get nice and close because spear throw underwater is sweet. So spear fishing still works. Cool. I only got a fish that we can cook. We can make that into some soup. Doing okay on food at the moment. Nice. Really made it. I haven't found any copper by the end of the day, any more surface copper by the end of the day. I think I will do resin. So we want to mark this tree. So we can come back to it. Resin tree. That'll be really important for other things. And seashells, fun. Also grind them up. Oh, no, no, wolf. You can see we respawned back at the spawn point, so we're gonna need to make a break across the lake. I'm gonna try and go around this southern threshold as we go. And we lost a bunch of nutrition, which is sad. That wolf will still be there when we get back there too, so sometimes you can get yourself into a little bit of a death loop, which can be annoying. So sometimes you gotta think about what you dropped and whether or not it's worth going back for it. And in this case, we'd basically be starting over if we didn't get it back, so we're gonna go back for it and hope that we can find it and get out of there before that wolf kills us again. We lost a good chunk of the day, fortunately. But, you know, what you gonna do? We learned that there's wolves over there. Caution. There lies death. One of the things that's neat about when you die is that it gives... Oh, hey Chantrell, we'll have a snack on the way. Is it gives you a little waypoint to your death. One of the sad things is that if you die again, not where your stuff is, so say we got mauled by that rooster over there that's running away. Bye rooster. Got mauled by a rooster on our way over and died. Our new death point would supersede our old death point. I think maybe they changed that. It might just pin the new death point. We can try an experiment at some point. Determine that. Lots of raccoons. There's another rooster. You'll win in a fight with a rooster, so you don't have to worry about them killing you. But it is kind of humbling to take a bunch of damage from a rooster. So there's the wolf that killed us. In theory, our stuff is down there. So we can sneak a little, but one of the things about sneaking is you can't go up or down while you sneak. So we're gonna back away from that wolf a little. Then we'll try As long as we're over here, I'll try showing you my technique for hunting wolves and bears. And as you can guess, it's a pit. My technique for a lot of things in this game is a pit. You're just like, when in doubt, dig a pit. We currently don't have any ladders on us, so we'll make a ladder. Got enough sticks to make some more crude ladders. Put one in the corner just in case we fail at this attempt to evade this wolf. And I always go 3 deep. There's only a few creatures that can actually go 3 blocks tall, but it's better 3 deep than dead. So. Okay, and then there were some stones on the ground over here, I thought. No, don't have any stones. Okay, good as attention. Or spear. No stones, no stones. Usually I just try and throw a stone, but of course, when you need them, there's no rocks around. I don't have any in my inventory, nope. Sadly, you can't throw flint. Go back and find my hole that I dug. There's my hole. There's the wolf. Try and get its attention. We got its attention. It's going to try and pathfind to us. We're going to try and keep this hole between us and it, though it seems to have wandered off elsewhere. Here back. I think there's another wolf. Oh, nope, there's the wolf. Oh, it's going to win. It won. Oh, so close to our hole. Yeah, so it's not foolproof. None of it is. We're going to just do a beeline across the water to get back there this time. I guess mostly what we're learning in this Let's Play video is not to play with wolves. What you gonna do? Part of the grisly survival of this game. And so whereas we were able to have max 19 hit points, now we're down to max 16. Some people like to trap the wolves in a pit and then keep them alive. Oh. We're being chased by a wolf right now. Hopefully we can get it to go in our pit. Maybe we should stop playing around. Yeah, I'm not gonna mess with that wolf anymore. I'm gonna get back to the house and actually cover some content that isn't just me dying to wolves. You can make improvised armor using some things. I usually skip it, although with how many wolves we've seen running about, it might be worth putting it on, making it and putting it on. But we'll go get those bones from that deer. One of the cool things about bones when you're still in the Stone Age is you can use them instead of sticks for your handles, and they make your tools more durable. So we can make an axe or a knife that lasts longer with... Like I didn't get my... oh well. So we'll build a quick charcoal kiln here. Got enough materials for it. So we're gonna do, let's see, how much wood do we got? We've got enough wood that we can do a 2 deep charcoal pit. So we're gonna dig 2 down. Then chop that wood with this axe, possibly break the axe before it finishes. Nope, just the right amount. Then if you hold down your shift and your sprint, which for me is control and shift because I use the default. So shift to sneak and then control puts them down at a time. So you can see basically we stacked up 2 stacks of 32 firewood in this hole. We're going to take a piece of grass, we're going to put it on top. We do need to make another axe, so let's get those bones. Hopefully they haven't despawned out of our pit trap. I forget about valuable resources. Here we go. So you can see when we make our new axe with that as a handle, we're going to gain a boon of about 25 extra durability, which isn't a lot, but it adds up. Later you can grind the bones to make a fertilizer. So the bones are always can be pretty useful. So we got our flint axe. It's got greater durability. We're going to chop up these maple logs because we don't need any of them intact. Come back here. And so we're not going to get a 1-to-1 conversion rate out of that fire pit. Then we're going to need to build another wall around it because we're going to need to seal it off. To make charcoal, you need a low oxygen environment. So we've got 2 stacks of wood, a fire on top of it, an enclosure around it, and then this block is here so we can seal it off after we've got it lit. And it'll take, just like the kilns, it'll take a little while to process. So we're just going to grab a torch, close this back up. It'll take a little while to process, so it's not going to be finished. We'll be coming back to it being done in our next playthrough. So that's what it's going to look like after we light it, but since we haven't lit it yet, punch that back open. So we're going to light it, and you can see that instead of just saying fire pit, it says charcoal pit, unlit. And once we light it, we have a certain amount of time, in-game time, to get it sealed properly, or basically all of our wood just burns there. One of the signs that you've got it sealed properly is these hoofs of black smoke that are smoldering out of it. If we made a big pit, you can do like a 7x7 charcoal pit. So if we made a really big pit and we did this, some people will do insane pits and they'll do like 2 or 4 7x7 pits and then they'll have multiple fires up top, and it's just crazy to me. But so let's see, we've got our little poofs of black smoke. Once the poofs of black smoke are done, you know it's done. It's going to take about 2 in-game days, so I usually just leave it alone for a couple days. Let's get this fish skinned, see how much fish meat we get out of that largemouth bass. Oh cool, we got about 4 pieces of raw fish. Right now we don't have any fat, so there's not anything we can make immediately out of our... There's the rawhide tunics and things, but we don't have nearly enough. Yeah, we need 2 small hides. I'm going to put that in our storage just in case we get fat or in case we get another one by the time we're looking to do things. So you can see right now this meat is good for 23 hours and this meat's good for a day. If I combine the two, they're total mixes. So now that's still good for a day. And with 4 of that and 4 of this, I'm going to make some fish berry stew. So we're going to grab that, drop that there. 3 of these. And so you can mix and match your proteins. So if we do fish and we do meat, so now we've got a fish red meat stew, and I can add strawberries, and it's got boiled strawberries. If we had another thing to add to this mix, it would be better, but it'll be able to cook for us here. So I'm gonna do 5 logs or 4 logs for 3 things, and that should be good. The less stuff you have in the cook pot, the faster it cooks. Before we get too hungry, I'm going to go ahead and scarf down the stored serving of stew. Stash these logs so we've got them. And I think, yeah, let's get our clay molds that we need going and our crucible. So to get into the copper age, you need 40 copper nuggets. You need a crucible, set of tongs. Tongs are going to take a piece of rope. And so, got a piece of rope and then some sticks. And you need crucible, set of tongs, charcoal, 40 copper nuggets, and you need a hammer and a pickaxe mold are the bare minimum things you need for the copper age. So we're going to get those prepped. You can see our charcoal kiln still smoking away. So we need a crucible. I find until I'm late game, I don't need a lot of crucibles. So I very rarely make a lot of crucibles, but I also am not doing mass production for a server. So if you find yourself as the blacksmith for a server, you'll probably end up wanting a lot of crucibles because there's a maximum limit to the amount of metal you can melt in a given crucible. So if you want to be processing amounts higher than that at a time. And so the crucibles are one of those things that you can put other stuff in, so we can think about what we might want to cook. Well, we could have made an oil lamp. Well, let's make an oil lamp. That's one of the things you can use the rendered fat for. And one of the nice things about the oil lamp is it doesn't go out underwater. So you don't have to worry about, and it never burns out if you place it down, so you can use it to illuminate the area around your base to try and keep the monsters at bay. We'll get one of those going. Hopefully we'll get another piece of fat at some point. And I am going to make a flower pot just so we can start to have a little homey touch, even though this isn't our permanent home. Oh, so I was using the duplicate layer and I forgot that the center didn't want to be duplicated. You can also use Alt when you're crafting clay items like this. Now, who doesn't like a little flower pot? Always a nice touch, especially when you got a little room for it. Do this hammer mold next. I realized I was doing things that I didn't 100% need and I didn't want to run out of clay while doing it, so we'll make the hammer mold first, and then the other mold, we'll get them all cooking in the ground. We'll have 1 day left in this session here. So we won't have made too much progress, but that's okay, we're not speed running. Or hopefully we're not speed running. If you're following me trying to figure out how to speed run, you're following the wrong human being. Definitely a slow and go. Sometimes I get lucky, sometimes you can inspire me to speedrun, but left to my own devices, I'm a meanderer. I wander around, get murdered by wolves, that sort of thing. Singing the clay, making song, making a pick mold. Okay, so we got those molds made. The other one that we'll want eventually is a prospecting pick, but I'm not going to have enough clay for that and these things. What do we want? I think I would like a second cook pot, and the reason I want a second cook pot is just in case my cook pot is full and I have fat to render. Eventually we'll have a cook pot for making glue or other things. That'll be our dirty cook pot, so having 2 cook pots is not a bad idea. Also, it would allow us to leave a cook pot at home and take a cook pot with us out for cooking on the go. So instead of just eating our forage as soon as we find it, if we're out on a bigger excursion, we can stop and cook up our forage, and it'll serve us better. Now we gotta grab our grass and stick in our grass. And need some logs and some peat. Our peat, or you know, either peat or logs. And at this point, probably logs. It's gonna be easier to chop down a tree. See if we can get this goat who's trying to murder me to follow us over to the trap. Yep, looks like it. And we can jump. And now we've got a goat in a pit. Jerk. Oh man, that was close. Just a friendly neighborhood goat. I'm to murder you in your sleep. Or, you know, we weren't sleeping. I think it would have murdered me if I was sleeping. Doesn't need to be so mean. Here's our surface copper that we found over here that we marked down. Oh, again. Make a little hole for later. Let me know where to dig. Oh no! And so by placing a piece of dirt on top of that surface copper, I have made it disappear. It didn't break. It is one of the great tragedies of the game. Is so like this loose block here, I put a rock over it, it's gone. We don't get to benefit from it. Life is sad. I'm just making a couple bandages real quick because that goat messed us up. Or getting the materials to make bandages real quick. Sort of interesting that the early game healing materials are also in the forest where the things are more likely to murder you. So you gotta go run into the forest to try and not die. Oh, did you hear that lightning? Lightning is capable of murdering you. It's also capable of murdering your animals. So one of the things, for some reason, lightning in this game really hates chickens, or at least in a lot of my playthroughs where I have chickens and I don't have a lightning rod, the chickens get murdered by lightning, and it's sad. So, thing to keep our eyes on. We were going for logs and our grass so we could start this process going. Grass, logs. That's not going to be enough logs to get everything started, but we'll get the priorities going. Maybe we'll just chop down this tree over real quick. Yeah, we'll just chop down this little maple tree over here. So we've got 28 more surface copper that we need, so probably do exploring again tomorrow. Let's see if we can't get all these going and go off and find some more resources. Possibly murder that goat in the pit. I'll toss it some grass overnight, let it think that we're going to be friends, and then teach it a lesson. Being a mean goat. He's going first because monsters might be coming out soon. It's interesting how because it's raining it gets dark sooner, or it feels like it gets dark sooner, but that feeling is also that it gets dark sooner because the lighting level gets low enough that monsters will spawn. So it's not something that you can fully ignore. The weather sometimes impacts when the monsters start coming out. We're gonna toss animals down there, some grass. We'll go back inside. What time is it? Yeah, it's getting almost late enough to sleep. Luckily for us, having the caves underneath us usually means that you get less that we've sealed off. You'll get less surface spawn sometimes because there's a limit to the number of monsters that will spawn in a given area. seashell. Have a stash of... Yeah, no, we don't have a stash of copper. If we went to sleep now, we would end up taking hunger damage overnight because we would be getting hungry due to healing. We're going to finish off that stew. Take a bowl of this. So, you know, you can see the nutrition value. We're getting a little fruit and a lot of protein. This is going to be helpful because we got beat up, so you can see our fruit's really low, our protein's at pretty high. And now, as we sleep, we'll heal, and our hunger bar will be used to do that. Okay, so this day, we're going to go back out exploring. Gonna empty our pockets as much as we can. I don't need that granite stand. I'm gonna keep the ladders with me just in case. Actually, I'm gonna make my favorite exploring ladders real quick. So to do that, we're gonna need some rope. So we're gonna make some rope. For each segment of ladders, you need one rope. So I'm making 2 chunks of rope ladders. Rope ladders are my favorite ladders for going exploring, because you can drop them down and pick them back up really easily. You can't quite cover as great a distance because you can't space them apart like you can the regular ladders, where you can put them every other stone block. But you can, and these tongs that I just made are the tongs that we'll be needing when we start working our copper. We look here, these are all going to last us a little bit longer, so we're going to leave them be. And we've got some food in our bowl. Not a lot, but we'll eat that now and fill up our bowl, and then we'll go out wandering. So we don't have to take the crock out, we can just click on it with our bowl in storage and take it out for us. This down here. I'll just quickly... Oh, we got another fish we've talked into a corner. So this is my brand new patented spearfishing technique that I didn't know was a thing, but it is. Is apparently a really easy way to get nice high quality meat. So that's stay fresh for a couple days. I'm gonna put it whole in our, well, no, because I've already got fish in storage. Sometimes you can leave dead animals whole to sort of buy yourself a little time, because it takes them a little bit to rot. And while they're taking time to rot, when you cut them up, you end up with. So that's left for a day, but as you can see, when I add the other new material onto it, the timer goes up. So you combine the spoiled nature. So sometimes if you've got some veg that's a little spoiled, or fruit, you can mix in some fresh, and that'll... You can mix in some fresh, and that'll allow you to... There's our going. Why did... Oh, did I not light these? That's a bummer. Oh well. Much multitask. So if you wait a little bit to process the animal, it becomes like a refrigerator. Its corpse will drop meat that has the same spoilage rate as long as you don't let it go off. Because if you let it go off, it just turns into an empty pit. We're going to leave these animals alive because we don't need their meat or fat right now. But you can see there's still some snack left. So hopefully they do some eating today. The animals sleep at night, so they won't eat overnight. Hopefully they'll nosh down today. Because that goat, in theory, can drop fat. That would be the fat that we would need to get if we wanted to. Oh, man, I was going to dig a hole along here. Seems like it'll be super effective. Just killed a baby deer. We feel good about ourselves. That gets us another piece of meat and another rawhide. These bones here are only good for bone meal and for warning other animals that you're a horrible, horrible baby murderer. No, they're just, you can use them as decoration if you want. You can put them down. Pretend to scry if you're playing with your friends, to read the bones. I'm going to move this down by here. I'll show you, before we log off today, I'll show you the process of panning, and then I might do just a sped up montage of panning. Get to the, so you can see just how long it takes. If you're going to pan all the way for all that dirt. I'm making a pit trap over by our farm because the animals seem to love going up here, trying to eat our veggies. We're just gonna welcome them. The little hole they can't get out of. And then I can demo my rope ladders that I just made. Show you why I like them. So with the rope ladders, you hold down shift and you right click to apply them, and then you click again and you can see it drops down the ladder and you can climb up. And then if you right click them without holding down shift, you pick them all up. Whereas with the other ladders, once you put them down, can't pick them back up without breaking them. So this way you can use one ladder, or you can be at one place and drop all your ladders down and then reclaim them all. This is what I'm talking about of why these other ladders go farther, is because you can place them every other block. So if I try and climb up now, I'll just climb right up. We already talked about how you could push the first one above your head and jump to get it, but you can also then put another one above that. Get that. Looks like I can dig a little bit further. Still not block our gate, so we'll do that real quick. We got a lot of nice dirt to process based on our last run. I'm gonna go this time, I'm gonna cut this way. See what we can find over there. Because the rapids are usually, I think, in mountain streams. My understanding from reading the handbook. We don't need to carry all of this dirt with us though, or these tongs. So I'm gonna bring them back and lean them up against the side of the building here. See just how easy it is to get distracted. Or at least for me, pretty easy to get distracted. Like we don't have a knife anymore, so I'm gonna take a bone. We'll make a new knife. Got 2 rawhides. Theory, I guess we could make this cool hat, and by cool hat I mean a rather ugly hat. But it'll provide some temperature protection that we don't have now if push comes to shove come winter. So we might just build it in order to get in the feel of a survivalist who is hunting little baby animals. Get our knife made. So you can't use the bones for the shovels or the spears. So it's really pretty much just, I think, the knives and axes. We can figure that out. Yep, knife and axe. They're also used in the recurve bow, but that requires the hunter's trait to make and so we don't have the ability to make that. But it's one of the better bows in the game. Belt. Good, we can get our forage back up. Sometimes, let's see, it's calm, so the underground spawns aren't going to be very active. Sometimes I'll run down here. That little baby deer will grow up to be an adult deer, and it's not really worth murdering right now. As far as our pocket space versus food, we're going to leave it be. But when it's calm, you can do a little cave diving. Monsters will spawn. This rapid water. That. Wish I was better at knowing what the rapid water looked like. I don't think that's rapid water. I think that's normal water. I think that might be a bear. Yep, that's a black bear. So you don't want to mess with that. Wide around. It's nice when you keep finding all the same wild vegetable of this, or grain of the same type, because then you don't fill up your inventory a lot. Yep, we got another bear over there. Oh, it's Bear Palooza over here. So I'm gonna revamp our life choices a little bit. And you can see this is a different type of rock with flint, so we can see how that looks slightly different, but it's still flint for gathering. I would not want to try and run away from a bear in this terrain. Definitely murder us very quickly. Out. That looks like, so this is something that can also hint to you that there's predators around. See how there's a dead chicken here? This dead rooster, oh, this one looks crushed. So crushing means that it fell from height. So it decided it was going to jump. You can harvest them. They don't drop nearly as much stuff. We might ditch these feathers. We might make a simple bow. Try and make some flint arrows. Still, even with it bow and arrow, my greatest success in hunting is digging holes. So take a look at those rocks over there, see if we've got anything. Any surface copper. Oh. We do have some wild blackberries. Thick-skinned, that fruit from that bush will last longer. If you have a knife, you can hold down shift and right click on the berry bushes, and that's how you take a cutting. So now we can go back and we could plant that in soil at our base, and we'll have eventually a blackberry bush will grow up, and it will be, hey look, Pete. It'll grow up and it will have that trait, which is kind of cool. You can sort of curate your, we got some more quartz over there. You can sort of curate which bushes you want to transplant. I'm just gonna, assuming that we don't find something really awesome that I decide to throw this berry bush away for. I'm gonna plant it just so you see sort of the timeline that we're looking at from, oh. So down there, see that? That's flint in stone. So once we have a copper pickaxe, we can come back here and harvest that flint. So I'm gonna mark this on my map. This little hole here, I like to use a gray rock for my flint. And so that's one way we can get a lot of flint. Eventually we're gonna need a lot of flint because it's one of the ingredients in making fire clay. Because fire clay is hard to find on its own in the world. Pretty fun. I don't think that's rapids either. Also, it'd be a pain to settle in here. You'd have to do a lot of terraforming. That's a normal waterfall. This would be a good hunting box canyon, right? Because you're gonna get all the animals, place them into a corner they can't get out of. So this is one of the things where the rope ladders can come in handy. You can look up really high as you can, shift right click, and now we can just hop up. So it makes getting around and navigating these steep, cliffy, craggle parts of the map a lot easier. Oh, glad I made that jump. You can also use it to get down. So I'm gonna hop down here. We can shift, right click. It'll go down till it hits something. So it hit that burn. And as long as you're not going down so far that you can't see the top, can't get your mouse selector to select the top of it, you can always come back to it. Looked like there were some berries down here. I'm gonna try and stick with eating the cooked meal because the cooked meal comes with that countdown timer. And it's not official, so like there's nothing here that tells me I'm not getting hungry for a while. They'll mention it to you. They mentioned it in the wiki and it's mentioned a couple other places, but one of the ways once you can cook, your food just goes a lot farther. These, I forget. Some of these are edible, some of them are not. Yeah, so those aren't. That's going to damage you. The amount of food saturation you'll get from those, you'll spend healing the damage from them. So, I mean, unless you've got, I guess, a lot of bandages on you that you don't care about. You're starving. Good to know. The jack-o'-lanterns also are poisonous, the jack-o'-lantern mushrooms. So you see, did you hear that? Yep, that's a wolf. Swim away from that wolf. But you know, you can get underneath the animals. Sometimes they won't swim down fast enough. That little burp, burp bark that we heard, that is the sound of a puppy wolf. And it would be cool if you could like capture them and tame them, but really they just eventually turn into adult wolves. So you have to decide how you feel about attacking the cute little barky yappy puppy that runs away from you, or being mauled by it when it becomes a teenager later. Take a look at our map, see how we want to go next. If we go north, it'll be easier to cut back home if we're going to try and make it home for nighttime. So yeah, I think we're going to cut north instead of going up. Oh, that looks like... Oh, that could be Rapids water. Is it Rapids? Yeah, that looks like Rapids water. Wow. This is Rapids water. So in theory, we can use this to turn a water mill once we learn how to do water mills, which I believe is locked behind the Iron Age, so that's a long way off. But I'm definitely marking this on the map. And then there's a lot of like nice little plains down there. We could definitely carve out a little nice existence over here, I think. This might be where we end up moving. We'll check out that ruin after I mark this on the map. But you see the speed at which it's moving and how it's like white on the surface? That's how you can tell it's rapid water. And you can't transport it, but you can... We could build out some dirt. A little dirt tube for it, right? There's a certain amount of distance it'll travel before it has to go down a block. But we could be like Romans, aqueducts. So we don't have to settle right at, and this is as much of this as I'm going to do, but so we don't have to settle necessarily right at the source. We could transport this down into that valley and successfully use it to control our machinery. And one of the reasons we might want to do that versus work with it up there is one, I think it'd be fun to build like a cool little wooden log sluice for it. That would bring me joy. But the other reason is the higher you go, the colder it gets. So the growing season up on that hill is actually slightly shorter than the growing season down here where I'm standing right now. And so it can be good to keep that in mind. Also, the further north you go, hey look, some fennel. Fennel is not the best snack. It's not the most filling vegetable. It grows pretty quickly, but it can be used to make fishing bait. So there's this stink bait that you can make with it. So I can combine it with fennel and bushmeat. Oh, hey, licorice root. I didn't even know there was licorice root. But I can combine it with bushmeat or fish or raw dough and end up with a bait for fish, red meat. I haven't played it, like I said, I haven't done a lot of the fish related content, so I don't know for sure about that, exactly how cool it is or not, what my find is. I'm just going to ditch this ladder because we don't need it, and having some more puffball mushrooms. The fact that there's mushrooms down here in this valley leads me to think that it might be a fun place for us to sort of set up. Because these mushrooms will spawn again over time. We have gone a little north from our original spawn spot, so it will get cold faster up here. I don't know that this ruin has anything magical or special hidden, but hope it does. There we go. So we got another farming vessel. That one had, it looks like, feathers and cabbage seeds. So cabbage seeds are gonna feed us a lot better than a lot of other things we have. And our spear is basically one hit and it's done. So I'm gonna ditch it to the ether so we can take these cabbage seeds home. Cabbages take a while to grow, but once they're grown, they provide the most vegetable saturation of any vegetable. Short of, I think, pumpkins, but pumpkins sort of are weird to grow. They grow weird. If we get pumpkin seeds, I'll show y'all how the pumpkins grow. But we've had a rather successful day. I'm just going to snack on these black currants off the vine because we're actually rich vegetables. Yeah, we're going to snack on the strawberries. And yeah, gonna head home. So this has been, day 3 has been more successful of an adventure. Oh man, I forgot to mark that. I got so excited, I forgot to mark it. Good thing I checked that before we walked away. There isn't a lot of lakes here. So we might, our water right nearby, so we might get into the Copper Age first and then move over here. Because that's going to allow us to make a bucket, and the bucket is going to allow us to move a water source block. And then we can start to do, sort of create our own artificial water farm arrangement. I'm just going to use this symbol and say rapid water. So, you know, we're not too far from spawn, so we could still make it here in a day if we died. It's, other than the lack of water, it's pretty good. It's got multiple types of mushrooms that are edible, fair number of bushes. It's not too far from a forest. And that's a pretty decent place, I think, to set up our first, like, cozy, semi-permanent base. We might end up moving again. Yeah, we could go fishing here. We could do a nice little fishing dock. And then a path back to our little house in the center there. A little path up the hill to the water mill. mill things. That'll be fun. I'm going to turn the music down. So this is one of the things I'm going to play with the audio settings that I recommend when you're looking for bees. Is you turn the music off or very low, and you crank your effects volume and your entity volumes really high up. And so now it'll be easier to listen for the buzz as we're going through. And if I hear it, I'll let you know. We're going to listen for bees as we make our way back to our starter base. We're also going to look for them, but I pretty much have only ever found them by hearing. I wish you could use the full bee nades to make a hive, but a populated hive, but you can't. That's just the wind in the leaves. Time to bust out my favorite ladder. And you can make enough of these that you have like 64 of these ladders, so you can use them to go down really deep vertical holes. Sometimes there's just no bees in a forest. I've had games where it took me weeks to find bees of just constant wandering around. And then other games where there's just so many bees, you're just like, how are there so many bees? So, really up to the RNG gods. Oh, hey, another trader. Say hi to that one. In a minute. Quick wander around. So this is again something that probably wouldn't be fun to watch me do, but hunting for bees is a very realistic part of the game. One of the things you can do while you're hunting for bees is look for surface copper. If we end up doing a let's play where I hunt for bees the whole time, I'll heat it up. So we'll cover probably like a huge number of days. So this was eaten by another creature. So that means there's a wolf or a bear about. And as you can see, there's the bear running around, chasing other things. That also looks like a wolf. Nope, that's just another bear. That might be a wolf up there. Yeah, so there's a lot of death going on over there, and a very lucky scared bunny, or a bunny that is not scared yet. So we're gonna risk it, see if we get any wonderful things. Sometimes the foxes have fat. Nothing worth grabbing off that box. Over here, this is a fruit tree. So like these fruit trees always have this coloring to them. So we'll come back when this is a little older. And fruit trees only bear fruit once a year. So it's good to note. And you don't have a guaranteed transplant rate, which I think I've mentioned already. I like to let them get a little more established before I chop them down. Yeah, there's this trader. Oh, that's cool. I like the little, that's fun. I might steal that idea. Little trapdoor use as a little walkway platform. You could do it too wide, right? You could have one on the other side of a barricade. That's neat. Cool. I like that. That brings me joy. Here's a trader. Oh, building materials trader. Cool. Got anything to trade? Looks like if we decide we need wallpaper, they're going to be a good resource for us. They're buying quicklime, saws, old things, lanterns. So we could make some of these once we get established a little more. Some of these are things we got to find. So if nothing else, if we even if we don't want this stuff from this trader, we can come back with some of the materials that they'll buy. Every few days, they're going to cycle through different things, what they're selling and what they're buying. So there's never a guarantee that they're going to be buying what you want. And they have a maximum amount of gears they have. So if we rolled in with 4 large copper lanterns, all of a sudden they'd have no gears left. And they would get more gears when they restocked. But we'll mark this building trader. One of the traders that we're keeping our eye out for, I'm going to go with brown for building. One of the traders that we're keeping our eyes out for is the treasure hunter trader, because the treasure hunter trader is the trader that allows us to start the story missions if we want to start the story missions. I think I'm going to leave the story missions out of this Let's Play and let you experience them on your own, but we'll see if that opinion changes as we go. This is mainly about surviving and coziness, not necessarily how to beat the game. Oh, there. Going up a hill, going up the corners. I don't think it's chasing us, but we're going to go a while before we turn around. Cool. Yeah, it's not chasing us. Got some more fruit trees here. What type of tree? Apples again. And got also pink apple over there. We might come through and steal a couple of these fruit trees as we go to our forever base. And these are pears, so you can sort of see them on the map, the fruit trees, sort of like the clay. If we look really closely, you see how they're like this lighter green color? Oh, that one's covered up by that. So like that's possibly a fruit tree. So if you're hunting, sometimes that can help you hunt down fruit trees. We want to get home. And there's a bear. Bear. Jump the pond. Taking big jumps over like crags or ponds is also another way to get away from bears because they'll not take leaps and they gotta go up and down. That can slow them down. They're hard to outrun on a flat surface, so you want to try and stay going up the hills or along the edges of hills because the AI has more trouble. Their brains have more trouble processing how to navigate the terrain. And if you're not using the terrain to your benefit, the bears are faster than you. So it's important to try and use the terrain to your advantage. Okay, rift activity is low. I might just do our might do some quick panning so you see what that's like by the light of the pit kilns over here. Throw that down. Actually take that with us. Go empty our pockets. Did you hear that sizzle? I'll do it again. Well, it's raining right now, and so eventually your torch is going to go out, but that's the sizzle noise that you hear that lets you know your fire, either fire pit or torch or whatever is being hit by the rain. Make another meat stew. So this is one of the situations where you can use Alt to do, I can right click that open. I can right click that open. Like those, those, those. We'll cook with some of our fennel. That's going to be vegetable, not much vegetable, but vegetable, berry, and meat. And that'll get us a little more nutrition. Drop off the berries. That doesn't need to be in that storage. I can put that on the ground. Grab a few logs. Get food cooking. Still a little better than being out on the floor, so we're going to drop those mushrooms in there. Seal this up. Once it's sealed, that'll go down. It'll be better than it was when it wasn't sealed. Go over here and do just a few rounds of, until we get attacked by something. A few rounds of panning. Basically, you sit here, you right click on the dirt. You got to be in water for panning to work. I thought you used to have to look down at the water. You don't, so you can do things like pan and stargaze. You're like, ooh, look at the pretty sky. Look out at that trader. So sometimes I like to set up a place to pan where I can see something pretty, so it's not as boring. Or I do this once we've got a bucket, or I'll build a little hut, a panning hut, around a water source that I can stand in and that is safe for spawns, and I'll use it as an activity to do during the first few temporal storms that I can't avoid. And so far we've gotten a few flint, and we've gotten one granite stone from our granite sand, and we haven't gotten any nuggets. And there's 8 scoops per block of sand. And it's sand, gravel, and bony dirt that are the ones that you pan for stuff. You can see we got 2 bits of granite now. Another piece of flint. We got 1 rusty gear, which is kind of neat because there's that agricultural farmer. We could possibly use it to... The ag farmer sells bowls filled with honey. That can sometimes be a good way to get bowls cheap. But also, they sell seeds and unique tree seeds sometimes. Don't remember if we found a survival trader. Possibly. The survival trader is the only way we're going to get a recurve bow in this game. Or turning on the class craftables that are not, or turning off the class specific craftables. Sometimes if you get enough gears, you can use the trader, the survival goods trader, because they'll sell pickaxes to bypass the need for building a pickaxe. So we got 2 copper nuggets. So you can see 3 blocks of sand, and that a chunk of time got us 2 copper nuggets. And we need a lot of copper nuggets. So you can see just how time consuming that can be. And that is the end of the day. And that brings us to the end of this Let's Play. Hopefully you got some useful info out of this. When we come back, we'll be digging the charcoal pit up. We'll be getting our first amount of charcoal. We'll finish getting ourselves into the Copper Age next time, and then we'll move forward. So you can see we got either a lot of panning to do or a lot of luck to have while exploring. I'm gonna plant, we'll also plant our blackberry cutting. Then we might start moving to our new forever home and getting even cozier. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. It was fun seeing, having y'all with, and dying a lot to wolves. Have a good one. Take care.